Hello, and welcome to the Culture Track at the 3rd Annual Python Web Conference. I'm Laura from 6 Feet Up, and I'm thrilled to welcome Gabrielle Hendryx-Parker, the CEO and co-founder of 6 Feet Up, as our next presenter.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Python Web Conference. If you are here, it's because you want to know how to get out of boring and wasteful meetings, or maybe you want meetings to be more productive. So today we're going to explore how we can all make meetings a fun and effective experience. Let's get started. So let's start with a little bit of math. How many hours on average do you spend each day in a meeting? And by meeting, I mean a stand-up meeting, like some sort of a report out meeting, a meeting with clients, maybe a company-wide meeting, or maybe a team building exercise. So you have an idea, maybe let's just assume 1 hour a day. Now multiply that by 5 days. Now you're spending 5 hours a week in meetings. Multiply that by 4 weeks. You're looking at 20 hours in meeting per month. And then by 12 months, now you're looking at 240 hours a year spent in meetings. That's a lot of time spent in meetings. So it seems like we really love meetings. I did a little bit of research, and here are some interesting statistics. In the US alone, it's estimated that 11 million meetings are taking place each day. Out of those 11 million meetings, 37% of them are estimated to be actually useless, which leads to basically a waste of about $37 billion in the USA alone. Now, beyond the financial cost, consider the impact on your work. Not only are you basically wasting your time going to a meeting that doesn't really move anything forward, but you're also dealing with interruption, with context switching. You are basically forced to lose your train of thought, which means that when you get back finally to your work or what you were doing before the meeting, you might lose some productivity and you might get frustrated. So let's explore why we actually even meet in the first place. So there's typically 6 main kinds of meetings. The first one is to inform each other. We need to keep each other all up to date to be able to work well together. We used to pass information through stories told in groups. Then once people could read, we put up posters. Then we relied on emails. Now we're having Zoom meetings. And tomorrow we might actually have meetings in virtual reality worlds. Another type of meetings is a brainstorming session. You put more brains together. That means more sources of information, more perspectives to consider, which leads to better decision making. If you have more like different outlooks, or you have more people who can dream different outcomes, you're more likely to make a better educated guess and a better decision. On top of it, deciding together does generate buy-in, which means that people are more likely to then carry on the actions that go along with the decision. A fourth type of meeting is a coordination meeting. So who is going to do what? We need to agree on accountability. Then we have meetings to connect with one another. In order to work well together, we really have to trust one another. In order to trust one another, we have to live through similar experiences, and a meeting is an experience. I get to see how you act, how you react, how you think. I can see how polite or rude you might be. So from observing you and participating in a meeting with you, I get to make an opinion about whether I can trust you or not, and whether I might work well with you or not. And then finally, we are social animals, so we like to get together to have fun. We naturally like to gather and hang out, and that's a lot of the purpose of the water cooler. All right, so then we have 6 good reasons to get together. Why do we have such terrible meetings? So there's like several causes. I mean, one is there could be, you might be meeting with a team and nobody's really engaged. People's bodies are here, but you can tell they're not really ready to participate. I mean, who has never daydreamed in a meeting? I think the statistics are like 91% of people are reporting daydreaming on a regular basis during a meeting. Or people might be doing something else, you know, they're chatting, they're checking emails, they're checking the weather, they're might be having a side conversation with the person next to them if they're in an in-person meeting. If they're on Zoom or some other platforms, they might be chatting with someone. They might also be on social media. So all those types of non-engagements really make for poor meetings. Another reason why we might have wasteful meeting is if no clear agenda was really set for the meeting. I see that happen very often. Groups are used to meeting every week, every 2 weeks, every month, but no agenda has been set, so they're just getting together and they're having conversations, but really nothing fruitful is coming out of those meetings. Something that happens also frequently is for the group to start on the right topic, but then, you know, veer away from what they wanted to discuss, and 10 minutes, 15 minutes into the conversation, someone realizes that we have digressed and really went down the rabbit hole. So that's also a problem because we're wasting everybody's time. A third issue has to do with the wrong attendance. Too many meetings, too many people is obviously detrimental to a good meeting, to good discussions. I can tell you, I had once a client who insisted on sending 30 people to a meeting. The culture was to make all decisions based on consensus. So I can tell you it took forever to agree on specifications for a software product. And likewise, having some key people missing is a problem. So whether you're missing a decision maker or a key stakeholder, or maybe an expert who is supposed to provide his or her perspective on things, if some of those critical people are missing in your meeting, then you won't be able to make the right decisions or generate buy-in, which will mean that you've wasted people's time. Another thing we see a lot is a lack of good time management in meeting. So you might allow attendees to come in late. When you do that, though, basically you have 2 choices. You can either catch them up when they come in, which means that you're wasting everybody's time because the rest of the attendees have already heard what you're covering. Or you might decide not to do anything and wait till they ask questions, which when they do, because they're missing some information, then that's when you have to catch them up. So either way, you're wasting people's time. And not to mention, when you tolerate attendees coming in late, you're basically encouraging that behavior. So this is definitely a big no-no. And then second is when meetings are allowed to run long, then it also creates some frustration because people now they're conflicted. They're going to think, well, maybe I need to stay here, or maybe I need to excuse myself, and which one should I do? And then if I decide to stay here, then I may need to reschedule my next commitment. And so people, as a result of all of that extra thinking, are basically starting to disengage, and this is not a productive time. So all of these issues are leading to lack of progress. The idea with a meeting is not to just have a meeting for the sake of having a meeting, is you want to make progress in one area or several areas. So you may have like the most amazing meeting with breakthrough discussions and decisions made, but if no documentation is taken and nobody writes down who's supposed to do what next, then overall you are just bound to have the same meeting at the next session. So you'll have again awesome discussions. You might have a great time, but the time is still wasted if you keep repeating, you keep going over the same topics and not really moving the needle. All right, so we've explored all the reasons why we're having bad meetings and wasteful meetings. What does a great meeting look like? All right, so there are 4 tenets of a great meeting. The first one has to do with engagement. Time is a non-renewable resource for human beings, typically, which means that anybody involved in a meeting needs to be really respectful of people's time. So that means, like we said, starting and ending the meeting on time, but also for attendees, for them to commit to being present, commit to participating, provide their perspective, and asking questions. Second is prioritization. So it's important that all topics that are to be discussed should be brought to the table before the meeting starts, really, or at least at the beginning of the meeting. There needs to be a little bit of work that is done by the meeting coordinator to organize the topic in most important and urgent topics first, so that we don't waste time discussing something that is not really important, and then we run out of time to discuss things that are really truly important. And so once we have this list, this ordered list of topics, we need to be okay with the fact that we may not get to the bottom of the list, and that's okay. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. The third tenet of a great meeting is to be focused on progress. It's really important to document action items along with ownership of the task. So it is important to capture who is going to do what and by when. And then last, but really not least, this is really important, any kind of meeting needs to be prepared. There's no way to have a great meeting without someone or multiple people spending time preparing for that meeting. So that means maybe following up with people, making sure we have the right attendees, reviewing the goals, updating the to-do list, definitely creating a good agenda, coordinating with attendees. All right, so all of this is awesome, but what does this look like in practice? So at 6 Feet Up, we have adopted EOS. It stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's a complete set of simple concepts and practical tools to run and grow a company smoothly. One key concept of EOS is the Level 10 meeting. Level 10 meetings aim to keep your team focused on important priorities. They make meetings shorter, more productive, and more fun. If you're interested in learning more about EOS, you can look it up online at www.eosworldwide.com. You may also get the book Traction by Gino Wickman. And without further ado, here is how we run our Level 10 meetings at 6 Feet Up. So the format of a Level 10 meeting is pretty much always the same. And just in parentheses here, I am really here talking about meetings that are part of a series of meetings. So I'm not talking about just a one-off. I'm talking about a regular meeting, working meeting. So a Level 10 meeting starts and ends on time. It's an active meeting. We're asking and really assuming everyone is ready to actively participate and be engaged throughout the meeting. It is focused on making progress, and it consists of the following phases. So first, as I mentioned earlier, there's a preparation phase. Then once the meeting gets started, we go through a check-in phase to kind of welcome participants to the meeting. Next, we will look at any kind of data that is relevant to the group or the topic or both for the meeting. Then we'll go over announcements, and then we'll review outstanding to-dos from the previous meeting. And then we'll go to IDS. So IDS is the core of the meeting. That's where we are looking at issues and topics and discussing and making decisions. And then finally, we'll conclude, which then will kick off another round of preparation for yet the next meeting. So I am going to talk a little bit further about the preparation phase. That phase is absolutely crucial. You need to ensure you have a clear agenda that is worthy of a meeting. Again, like if you realize 1 week that there's, for whatever reason, there is no new issue, no critical topic, your team is busy, skip the meeting. Let's not meet for the sake of meeting. You need to make sure that all key parties can attend. So if a stakeholder can't make it, you'll have to ask them whether you should reschedule or forge ahead. If the person says, no, I want to be there, then you'll have to abide by that and reschedule your meeting. If you're going to share metrics or data, make sure it's up to date. There's nothing worse than you updating the data in front of your audience. Then you want to curate what I call the MIFO list, the most important first out list. So you want to collect a list of issues or topics to discuss ahead of time from the various participants. And then you'll want to order them in order of priority with the most important topics or issues first. And we'll go into this in a little bit. And then once you've done this prep work, you'll want to put all of the structure, the format of the meeting in place in a central document that is shared with all the attendees. So again, it's really important that you use some sort of technology that allows all your meeting participants to actually engage with the document, write documents, and help you with the preparation work. At 6 Feet Up, we use Dropbox paper, but you can use any other real-time collaboration tool like Google Doc. And so I'm going to give you an idea of what this looks like. This is, so using Google Paper, Dropbox paper, this is a template of a level 10 meeting. So as you can see, I have a general outline. So I have my wins, I have scorecards, so that's my data. I have another, because we're an EOS company, we're looking at our quarterly goals, so called rocks. So we're going to look at that every time. I have my announcement section, I have my to-do list, I have a skeleton for the IDS section, and I have my conclude phase. So everything is here. It's a shared document. Everyone who belongs to this group has access to it. Actually, other groups may also have access to it, and we're going to go over why in a minute. And so as the coordinator, you will want to set this up for the coming meeting. So for example, at the top here, I have just my template. And then below, I have copied this outline, this skeleton, and set up the meeting. So for today, March 24th. So I put everybody's names, and I've allowed people to start putting information. So you can see I pulled my to-do list. I have some initial topics to discuss. And so once I'm done with this, and I may also, like I said, updated my scorecard and my data, then I'm ready to hold the meeting. So the next, so the way you will start your meeting is by going through what's called the check-in. Check-in phase is to ease people into the meeting, help them transition from whatever they were doing before to the meeting. It helps connect people. And again, you're really wanting to develop trust between your participants. So it's kind of it's time set aside for a mini water cooler if you want. I mean, typically it doesn't last more than, say 5-7 minutes. So it's not very long, but it gives everybody a chance to kind of connect on a more personal basis. So this is what it's going to look like. So like in this case, I will have asked everyone in the team ahead of time to share basically one personal and one business win. This is to encourage people to spend a minute to think back about what they're grateful for, what they're appreciative of in the say the past week. Here the goal is not to come up with something really big like, oh, I won a Nobel Prize or anything like that. It can really be as simple as, you know what, I really enjoyed, my husband made me a cup of coffee this morning, and that was really, I was really appreciative. So here, I give you some example. Like I might say, hey, my son is doing well in his new virtual school, and from a business standpoint, I have a new interesting project coming in. Then let's say Kim might say, by the way, these people are all the people on the leadership team at 6 Feet Up. So Kim might say, hey, I won a judo tournament over the weekend. And from a business standpoint, I had a great meeting with Liberty. Carol might say, I'm just enjoying the nice weather. So again, like this, we don't want to put the bar very high. This is really to encourage some casual conversation. And she might mention something about her business life. Laura might say, oh, my house inspection went well. I'm looking forward to closing down on this. I will say I went to a meeting with a client, because sometimes we actually run level 10 meetings with clients as well. And one person in the group said, oh, I'm actually buying a house this weekend. And everybody was like, wow, nobody knew. And it's like such a big thing in someone's life. I mean, this is really something that in a group people should know. You will see that in this example, everybody kind of already filled out their wins, except for Calvin. So he might just come in at the last minute, may need some time to settle. So if that's happening, and I'm done talking and it's his time and he's not quite ready, it's totally okay to skip him. So you keep going down the list, and once Jen is done, you can come back to Calvin. When you're doing something like that in person, it's just easier. You just pick someone and you just go around the room. But with virtual meetings, it's just easier to go at it this way. So once we're done with the check-in part, we are moving on and reviewing data. By data, we're talking about metrics like it could be key sales metrics, it could be key financials, it could be key social media metrics, productivity data. It could be, if you're a part of a developers meeting, it could be whether projects are late or not, or over budget or under budget. It could be a review of the number of points delivered the previous week versus planned. So it's whatever data is important to the group. Typically, coming back to our paper page here, what we do is that, so we go over 2 sections here, and typically we have links to external documents. We keep our metrics in spreadsheets, so we'll have a link here to a Google spreadsheet, or we may have a link to an online dashboard. So you'll just want to make it easy for your meeting participants to access the data in question. As an EOS company, I mentioned earlier, we also are reviewing our quarterly goals weekly. So typically here we would be going over where we are compared to our goals and who's supposed to do what. All right, so next we are looking at announcements. So announcements are typically from team members or partners or clients, but they can also come from other teams. So I will show you what it looks like. So for example, someone may be joining the team, or a new client or existing clients is going to, in this case, use Loudswarm again. And then here, this is an example of another group actually also using the level 10 meeting format, coming to make an announcement to this team. So someone from the other team came to this document and posted this. Production, in this case, the production team would like the project management team to post a note in Slack, blah, 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 blah. So this is a really powerful format to allow teams to communicate effectively between one another. So this is definitely, I can tell you at 6 Feet Up, we've seen a lot of power from having multiple teams adopt this format. So once we're done with the announcements, we are going to then look at to-dos. Again, this is we're assuming this is part of a series of meeting. And so there was a meeting before, there will be a meeting later. And at the previous meeting, some action items were taken. So here's the list, my mock to-do list. And so it's broken down by people. And as you can see, some people have actually completed some of their tasks, because with the document being always open and available to all participants, it's becoming a working document. So this puts less pressure on the meeting coordinator to chase after everyone and make sure that ask them, have you done this, have you done that? Here, it's the people's responsibility to come to this document and actually update it. So as you can see, some progress was made. You notice those red circles. At 6 Feet Up, we have a culture where we easily make fun and add a little bit of peer pressure when things are not getting done. So in this case, for each week where something was not done, we're just adding a little circle. So I think it's a good way to kind of encourage people to complete their tasks, or also to help people realize that, hey, this thing has been going on for five weeks. What's going on? And so drop it down is the terminology, meaning let's put it on the agenda for maybe the next meeting to see what is obviously blocking the person from completing their tasks. All right, and once we've reviewed our to-dos and what's outstanding, we are ready to actually discuss, finally enter the discussion zone. So IDS stands for identify the cause, discuss, and solve. So this is where you want to spend the most of your meeting time. Typically, you'll want a good 2/3 of your meeting time to be dedicated to this phase. This is really why the team got together in the first place. And so this is how it will look like. If I'm the meeting coordinator, I would have come here and already organized my topics. So I may have listed my most important topics here. They are ordered, meaning this one is my number one. I would want to start with this. Pending means there's some unfinished business from previous meetings. In this case, we're waiting to hear from a third party, but it's not been solved. So as soon as we're ready to resume this conversation, we will be ready to then move it to the most important topics. As you can see, we have also some next topics at the bottom. So these are, if we have more time, these are the topics we'd like to discuss. And so what's really interesting is at the top, we have a subsection called incoming or inbound. And this is for anybody throughout the week or throughout the time period between two meetings to come here and jot down a topic or an issue that they would like to discuss. So in this case, we have 3 topics. And so the meeting coordinator is going to take the lead and maybe start saying, you know what, this is not really important. I propose we defer it till that time. This is also a long-term decision. Let's move it to next. And then this looks like, you know what, it's why don't we start with it because it's a quick discussion and it's important. So that's typically when I am leading a meeting, that's typically the role I will fulfill. But obviously, I really want to hear what the rest of the team is saying. So if someone is really wants one of the topics to be discussed, I'll be like, okay, I understand. Why don't we swap this one with this one and go like this. And once everyone has had a chance to say, yes, I agree, this is the most important topics, we will start by addressing the first one. So typically, the person bringing the topic will get a chance to introduce the topic and talk about what the problem is, what the consequences are, what kind of decision they're looking for. The rest of the team will really try to get to the root cause of the issue. And so at this point, you'll want, or everyone, it's not really just up to the meeting coordinator. I personally, I like it when everyone jumps in and helps out. But you'll want to kind of, as you go, you'll want to capture some of the points discussed. So you can say something like discussed, ABC, and then talked about, XYZ. So these are not really meeting minutes. It's just enough information that later on you'll remember what was discussed. And then finally, the group is going to naturally come to a decision point, and the decision will be made. So you'll want to capture the decision. So typically we call it like this: decision. We will do ABC. And usually once a decision has been made, oftentimes there's an action item. Someone needs to do something. So we will also capture it here. So in this case, we may say, schedule, I don't know, a time to train the team. And then we will assign this work to someone. So I'm going to say I'm going to assign it to Kim. Every time you have a task, you absolutely always have to assign an ownership. Someone is going to be accountable for completing that task. Now, sometimes it could be that in this case, Kim can't really schedule, that time by himself, and he needs to work maybe with me on when might be a good time. So we're not going to put 2 owners. You never want to put 2 owners. So in this case, we're going to say, okay, we're going to add working with Gab. As a reminder to Kim that he's the one responsible to contact me to discuss this and close and complete the task. So once you've done this for your most important topic, if you have time, then it's okay to move on to the next topic, in this case, this one. And so the format is the same. You go through the same root cause analysis, discussion, solution, writing down the discussion, the decision, and then capturing action items. And you do that until you run out of time, knowing that you'll want to still keep about 5 minutes to conclude, and we'll go over this in a minute. During the IDS time, it is really important you hear from everyone. So some people are more assertive than others. Some are more vocal than others. Some are more like very more reactive. Others like to take time to process information. And so it's okay. You want to allow everyone to, go at their own speed, but do not move forward with the decision without being sure that everyone in the team is in agreement. So it's really important you ask everyone to weigh in. Okay, so next, once you're done with IDS, it's time to conclude. So a conclusion is, this is to recap the to-do list. This is, so typically, you'll want to do different three things. First, you want to recap the to-do list. So this is just a cue for the moderator to do this. So typically, you don't want to write your to-do list again, but you want to go through your entire meeting and go over any new to-dos that were captured today. Why do we do that? Because now and then, when reading out loud, okay, schedule a time to train the meeting, working with Gab, someone might say, wait, I thought that Kim was going to collaborate with Carol on this. So someone may have gotten like a different piece of information and may not be on the same page. So this is the last time we have as a team to make sure that we're all on the same page with those decision points. Next, we will list any kind of cascading messages. If you remember at the beginning of the meeting, we, in the announcement section, we had been cascaded a message from a different team. Here, it's our turn to see if maybe there might be some messages we want to cascade to other teams. So, and then we would capture them there, and again, mention who would do that. Last but not least, and that's the fun part, you will go through rating the meeting. So we're going to rate the meeting from 1 to 10, and with 10 being the best grade, hence the name Level 10 Meetings. And we're going to be evaluating the quality of the meeting based on 4 criteria. The 4 criteria are, did we stay on track? Did we finish on time? Were the top issues addressed? And did we get to the root cause of problems? So the way we used to do that was to just go around the room and ask people to just give a number. But then we realized we were influencing each other, and so the result was not very really accurate. So now we kind of play a fun game. We use playing cards or a calculator or our phones, and we punch the number in, and then we do a big reveal all at once on Zoom. This way, nobody really has a chance to change their rating. And then typically you'll capture the spread. So usually it's something between 8 and 10. 8 and 10 is typically, we consider that to be a good meeting. Anything below we'll definitely want to address. And so if someone says, like if everyone rates 8, 9, or 10, but then there's a 7, you'll definitely want to spend a minute and ask, hey, what happened? And the person might say, well, we started late, or we digressed a little bit, we spent too much time on this topic, or the meeting ran a little bit long. And that happens, but I think having some built-in feedback in the format is really helpful, because it gives the team, and not just the meeting coordinator, but everyone in the meeting, it gives some feedback. Hey, we can do better as a team to have a better meeting. And so that ongoing feedback allows, in the long run, for much better meetings. Okay, and when we're done with the conclude phase, obviously we're ready to go prepare again. So the meeting coordinator, again, will have to set up the structure for the next meeting, and so would go above, would start setting a meeting for, the end of March or beginning of April. And we'll make sure it's easy for everyone to update their data. Any outstanding task will be moved up to the next meeting, and any issues or topics not discussed this week will be moved on to the next meeting as well. So again, that having a living document like this makes meeting preparation a lot faster and a lot more effective. all of this is sounding good, Gabrielle, and so we're going to cover a few objections. First, you might say, you know what, I'm not in charge of my meetings in my company, so I don't know how I can really do anything to make my meetings better. I'm going to say that's not true. You can definitely nudge your coordinator to use better practices. You can ask questions yourself when something is not clear. It's probably not clear for your neighbor, so ask questions. Point at rabbit holes when someone digresses and goes like off topic. Don't wait, just mention it. Like at 6 Feet Up, we always keep a picture of a rabbit and we just like throw it on Zoom just as a way to say, hey, let's move on. And again, like do promote the level 10 meetings. There's a lot of free information on the internet about the format, and it's very effective. You, as a team lead, you might say, you know what, that's great, but my people are really not engaged. You can definitely do things to include them. You can first insist on cameras. That means do not allow people to hide behind an excuse of, you know, I did not shower, my makeup is not on, etc. Because then it's really hard for you to communicate without knowing if they're chasing the cat, if they're scolding their kid, if they went to answer the front door, if they're having technical issues, if they are frustrated or not understanding, or this nonverbal communication is really important. Another thing to include people is to just go around the room, ask person after person what their stance is on a problem. Call people by their names. Hey Joe, what do you think? Especially if you see they're starting to not be engaged, absolutely call them by their names and give people credit. It really helps with engagement when you can say, oh, as Sarah pointed out earlier, blah, blah, blah. All right, then I want to leave you with a couple thoughts. So on average, it's estimated that we all spend about 15% of our time in meetings. So that's if we work 40 hours a week, that's 288 hours in meetings annually. If 37% of that was wasted, you're looking at 107 hours of your time wasted. And honestly, you could be doing so much more interesting things in your life. Like, for example, you could watch the entire series Dark 4 times. And if you haven't, it's an amazing German Netflix TV series that is mind-bending and really good. You'll want to watch it in its original format in German with subtitles, and your German is going to be increased so much, and you're going to have a great time. So that would be time much better spent. All right, so have awesome, productive, and fun meetings. Remember, if you are leading a meeting, do your prep, follow the level 10 meeting format, include everyone, follow up with people. If you are in a meeting yourself, commit to being present, commit to participating actively, speak up, ask questions, and include others. Thank you very much for your time. I'm glad that you are interested in giving people some of their time, some of their lives back. If you have questions, please feel free to join me in a face-to-face Zoom meeting. You can access it at the bottom of the session page in Loudswarm. I'll see you there very shortly.